for operations. Plus, mitigating flood in focus. For these and more, stay tuned to Panorama. I'm Ray John. Welcome. The federal government has extended the NPA Batch C online application by 2 weeks. In a statement, the extension is to afford everyone an opportunity to register online and take into cognizance difficulties some people might encounter in gaining access to the registration portal, which has seen a record number of over 5 million applications. The online application process, which began on Friday, June 26, 2020, was to have ended Sunday, July 26, 2020. The Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development states that the extension has become necessary to provide an equitable and level playing field to all eligible applicants. As we speak, the streets of Lagos are littered with stranded passengers who are still sourcing for public transportation to their respective destinations. Dotun Oguyemi is standing on the 3rd Mainland Bridge to monitor the first working day after the partial closure of the bridge. Hello, Dotun. What's the situation now?
Thank you, studio. It's the first working day since the closure of the 3rd Mainland Bridge over the weekend. And for motorists who want to access the mainland of Lagos at this time, their alternatives are coming to Oyingbo as well as State and then making their way through the Ikorodu Road or the Ebute Meta access. Motorists say the activities of these trailers and tankers parked on the road become an issue and resulting in gridlock. So they are calling on law enforcement agents to be on top of their game in ensuring that activities of commercial bus and as well as market activities which are basically centered along these alternative routes do not become an impediment to their movements.
That's why we won't pass our truck. He say there's no way. That's why they see yesterday. Many of these people stand, they don't come out from inside since 3 o'clock. Never is the place where contact the way they go at any I mean they go about it, we stand go issue office.
And it's a real stress for me. We use like 3 hours on the road, like this place will be blocked.
The traffic situation has left many workers trapped and several others stranded at the bus stop as they try to navigate their way to their final destination. And also for motorists who are trying to beat the deadline for the closure of the 3rd Mainland Bridge, that is for motorists who are island bound, to then allow motorists from the Lagos Island to use the 3rd Mainland Bridge as at 1 p.m. to cross to the Lagos mainland. And it's back to you in the studio.
Many thanks, Dotun, for that update. And away from Lagos now, despite the challenges of coping with the new normal created by COVID-19 and the persistent rains in the south-south region of the country, work on the Akwa Ibom axis of the Calabar-Itu Road project is in progress. Clement Barakiu reports that evaluation and enumeration for the second phase of the project is also at advanced stage.
The project, which has 12.5 kilometers in Akwa Ibom State and 9.5 kilometers in Cross Rivers, was slowed down due to some teething challenges. However, as at the time of this visit, about 2.5 kilometers of the road within the Ididep axis in Akwa Ibom State have been tarred, with the contractors promising to do more once funds are fully released. At the second phase of the road project, which takes off from Ikarakmene to Ididep, compensation has stalled progress of work as some community members erected illegal structures on the right of way.
So all those things that were built after the cost had been determined cannot be paid. So you people will have to choose between being paid for freshly planted plantain and having this road done.
If it is a government policy that this thing should not be said, there is nothing we can do. But
it's my duty to deliver what I have heard today to them. I will advise them.
The Senior Special Assistant to the President on Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Tainang, had earlier urged the contractors to open up a section of the road to ease the suffering of motorists this rainy season. In Uyo, Clement Barakiu, NTA News.
And on air travel, the Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, has approved 8 additional airports across the country to resume full domestic flight operations. This brings to 14 the number of domestic airports operating. Sirika made this known on his Twitter handle, where he stated that ministerial approvals in and out of those airports were not required. The 8 airports approved for resumption of domestic flight operations are Victor Atta Airport, Uyu, Kaduna Airport, Yola Airport, Margaret Ekpo Airport, Calabar, Sultan Abubakar Airport, Sokoto, Birini Kebbi Airport, Yakubu Gowon Airport, Jos and Benin Airports. The approval also includes private and charter operations. The public will be informed of the other airports in due course. In other news, the Adamawa State Government is taking drastic measures against building on waterways to safeguard lives and property of its citizens. Commissioner of Information and Strategy Umar Garba Pella said this as Simon Ashar monitors the devastating effects of yearly flooding in the state and government's efforts to find a lasting solution to the menace.
Samunaka, a residential area at the outskirts of Yola, the Adamawa State capital. On normal days, especially during the dry season, people of the area go about their socio-economic activities devoid of hitches as they try to make ends meet. However, as the rainy season set in, the people often sleep with one of their eyes open due to the devastating effect of flood occasioned by frequent rainfall as the waters overflows into the area each time it rains, destroying houses, farmlands, among other valuables worth hundreds of thousands.
Kirana gwamnati yayi kokari ya duba mu. Tarahama. Amuna ka walo ko ta duba mu yana da kyau.
This is not the first time, it's not the second time. It is an issue of years after years. And we have been complaining about it.
Similar scenario at Rundabaru, Angomakera, Tashansani, and Bachure communities, among other flood-prone settlements across the metropolitan city of Yola. National strategy, Adamawa State, Umar Garbapela, who attributed the flood in the state to the nonchalant attitude of people who build on waterways, says the state government has put on modalities to find a lasting solution to the situation.
Government every year set up a technical committee to look at this situation.
Unless the people desist from building on waterways, each year they have to be counting their losses. As the saying goes, water will always find its way. In Yola, Simon Asher, NTA News.
Now, that report from Yola shows one of the recent flood incidents that occurred in parts of the country, Abuja inclusive. Joining me in the studio now is the Director, Planning, Research and Forecasting, NEMA. He will be shedding all light on measures needed to be put in place to curtail incessant flooding in the country. I have with me Kayode Fagbemi. Many thanks for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, so from your wealth of experience, what would you say is responsible for the recent devastating flood being experienced?
Thank you very much. Some factors are responsible. The first one I will call human factors. We have very poor waste management. We dump our waste into drainages, into river channels, anywhere we see. And when there's water, they move all these things and they block the drains, they block the waterways, and because the water cannot move, cannot flow easily, they cause flood. That's one. Improper land and land management also. We have people responsible for land management, development control and all that, but they allow people to build on floodplain. When we say floodplain, it means it's a floodplain area and it's prone to flooding, so it's not meant to be built. And so we allow people, so we don't manage our land properly. And then population growth. Because of population growth, you remember when we were 50 million, now we are close to 200 million and above. But the land in Nigeria has not developed. And because all of us want to build in the city, we look for every available space. So population growth is pushing us towards building in areas where we are vulnerable. And lastly, or maybe not lastly, we have improper or poor dam and water management. If we look at our major water in Nigeria, River Niger, River Benue, and many other streams and water, during dry season, you see them, they have been silted. You can even cross, and easily you see heaps of sand and all that. All these things will impede water from going. And the climate change is already here, which means,
that results in flooding. Now, that's a challenge on our hands, and sadly, it's yearly. Every time it's the rainy season in the country, we always have stories like this. What exactly is your organization doing, to ensure that this problem is managed, at least minimally?
Yes, to manage it holistically, we will need what we call integrated flood management. So it will include managing the flood, the land, the waterways, the dams in the river basin. That will need a lot of money. We need to dredge some of the rivers. But what we are doing presently, we are doing what we call early warning. We give early warning messages, which we have done this year by writing to all the state government, and telling them the local government that were affected. We are also doing jingles, radio jingles, television jingles, and advocacy. Then we are doing stakeholders engagement. Many of the stakeholders are the one that, like, we have the Integrated Water Resources Management Commission, the dam managers, so that they will warn before they release water from their dams. This stakeholder engagement. We also have, we're trying to ensure that moving the DG NEMA, for instance, has been going from state to state, doing advocacy with the governors, because the governors have the political power, and if they have the political will, they can influence a lot of things. We don't have to wait until the federal government comes and says, okay, the houses should be demolished. There must be environmental sanitation.
Okay.
State can do those things.
All right. Looking away from what the federal government can do and the state government, what can members of the public, do in order for us to solve this problem?
In fact, there is what we call community engagement. I mean, the community power. The community sometimes have more power than the government. Community can stop people from building in floodplain. Community can stop people, from dumping their waste in drainages. Then we were in Bogolada yesterday and we saw so many drainages already filled up. Are we waiting for the FCT to declare environmental? The communities to come together, clear these drains, making sure that all the waste, then stopping people from reporting even people. There was a building collapse on Saturday. Somebody called me. He said, we saw the man when he was converting a bungalow to a two-story building. And they should report. So community can do a lot by reporting people that are doing right and stopping them.
Damn.
And when we are doing that, we are helping ourselves.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Fagbemi, for joining us. We hope your organization will do more so we do not have a repeat next year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Now, the federal government is initiating a mangrove restoration project to mitigate coastal erosion and associated impact of degraded mangrove covers in the Niger Delta. On NTA, Finefish takes us on a ride through the creeks of the region where the project will be implemented.
Seafoods are common delights and ingredients in preparing meals in states of the Niger Delta region. They are some of the many biological diversity of mangroves. To better appreciate mangroves, we'll take a ride through creeks and rivers, savoring spectacle of calm waters and the beauties of thickets lining the shores. Mangroves serve as buffer against ocean surge, coastal erosion, as well as improve water quality by filtering pollutants and trapping sediments from the land. On closer observation, the true picture of the mangroves come to light. Pollution from hydrocarbon fuel. Mangrove ecosystems are now receptacles for pollutants in the Niger Delta region.
And so we have every reason to ensure that our mangroves are protected, because without them, there will be a collapse of the supply of fish in the world. And fish is the most accessible form of protein that assures our health. So the healthier the mangrove is, the healthier the population.
Like the Great Green Wall in northern Nigeria, establishing a mangroves conservation agency is considered of utmost importance in the region.
There has to be an agency to ensure that the coastal area of this country is not
further washed away. The only thing we can do is to ensure that we multiply the little that is left of the mangroves.
In commemorating the 2020 International Day for the Conservation of Mangroves, the federal government is initiating a mangroves restoration project to remediate polluted forest covers and enhance sustainable livelihoods for people in coastal communities.
Nigeria has the largest mangrove cover in Africa and the third or fourth largest in the world, and we have neglected it over the years, and we're now suffering the consequences. So our solutions to coastal erosion and loss of biodiversity for coastal communities is in mangrove restoration. So that is what we are taking up now.
The theme for 2020 commemoration is Towards a Sustainable Use of Mangrove Wood Resources. In Abuja, Onengiye Fineface, NTA News.
And away from the environment, an extraordinary summit of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, is underway. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the meeting being held virtually is aimed at finding solutions to the socio-political situation in the Republic of Mali. President Muhammadu Buhari is participating at the meeting from the Executive Council chambers of the presidential villa, while his counterparts from across the sub-region are joining from the respective countries. The meeting is also being attended by the leader of the ECOWAS mediation mission to Mali, former President Goodluck Jonathan of Nigeria, as well as the President of the ECOWAS Commission, Jean-Claude Cassibro. The meeting is a follow-up to the mediation talks held last Thursday in Bamako, Mali, by President Buhari and four other ECOWAS leaders with the political actors in the Malian crisis. The extraordinary summit is expected to deliberate on the outcome of the Bamako talks and make a declaration on the best way forward towards achieving sustainable peace, democracy and development in the Republic of Mali. You're watching Panorama live on the network service of the NTA. It continues after this break. Do stay.
For now, the best and most efficient way to avoid getting infected is through regular hygienic and sanitary practices, as well as social distancing. As individuals, we remain the greatest weapon to fight this pandemic. By washing our hands regularly with clean water and soap, disinfecting frequently used surfaces and areas, coughing into a tissue or elbow, and strictly adhering to infection prevention control measures in health facilities, we can contain this virus.
Coronavirus is real. Steps to avoid this pandemic. Wash your hands regularly or sanitize your hands. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Don't touch your eyes, nose or mouth if your hands are not clean. Avoid the spread of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real.
Thank you for staying. Talking about the pandemic now, Nigeria's COVID-19 cases have risen to a total of 40,532, with the Nigeria Center for Disease Control confirming 555 new cases in 18 states on Sunday. Out of the 555 new cases, Lagos has 156 cases, Kano 65, Ogun 57, Plateau 54, Oyo 53 and Benue 43. FCT recorded 30 new cases, 18 in Ondo, 16 in Kaduna, 13 each in Akwa Ibom and Gombe, 12 in Rivers, 9 in Ekiti, 8 in Osun, 3 in Cross River, Borno and Edo states recorded 2 cases, while Bayelsa has 1 confirmed case this time around. On the case chart for states, Lagos still has the highest with 14,456 confirmed cases, followed by FCT with 3,481 cases, while Oyo is third on the table with 2,570 cases. Out of the 40,532 in the country is confirmed cases, 17,374 patients who recovered have been discharged, with the death toll now 858. In order to help cushion the effect of the coronavirus pandemic ravaging the world, wife of the president, Aisha Buhari, has provided palliatives and some empowerment tools to women in Osun State through her Future Assured program. Joshua Ogunjide reports that the wife of the governor carried out the presentation on behalf of the First Lady, Aisha Buhari.
No fewer than 1,500 women benefited from the relief materials donated by the First Lady Aisha Buhari. 40 hair dryers were also given to some selected hairstylists to boost their skills. The palliatives and empowerment tools to artisans under the Future Assured program of the First Lady are to assist the less privileged to cushion the effect of COVID-19. Represented by the Southwest Zonal Coordinator of Future Assured program, Mrs. Buhari urged beneficiaries to make judicious use of the empowerment tools so as to be self-reliant. Wife of the Osun State Governor, Mrs. Kafayatu Etola, appreciated the First Lady for counting Osun women worthy of such gesture, saying Osun women would continue to support the APC government at all levels.
I want them to make proper use of this. This empowerment is not going to be sold. We must use it very well.
The gesture is expected to assist women to mitigate the economic hardship as a result of COVID-19 in Osun State. In Osogbo, Joshua Okjede, NTA News.
Injured soldiers receiving treatment at the Nigerian Army Reference Hospital, Kaduna, temporarily forgot their condition to savour the good news brought to them by the Chief of the Army Staff, Lieutenant General Chukwu Buratai, while on a visit. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa reports.
These are mostly soldiers from the theatre of Operation Afia Dole in northeast Nigeria, wounded in combat and are receiving treatment at the 44 Nigerian Army Hospital in Kaduna. This kind of feast is a periodic tradition that has come to stay in the Nigerian Army. As a sign of honor, despite the regimentation in the military, Chief of the Army Staff is the one serving food to the recuperating troops. Though battling bullet wounds, some of the soldiers are determined to return to battlefield to complete their mission.
The nurses, the doctors are taking good care of us in this very place. The spirit and the zeal as a combatant soldier is in me. So if I can get a very nice prosthesis, my location in Northeast is Sambisa Forest. That is, they call it Beta. That is the deep area of the operation zone. I am ready to go back and attack these criminals.
Addressing the troops, Chief of the Army Staff commended them for exhibiting the spirit of patriotism and promised to uplift their welfare.
The fight against insecurity across the country is something that we must collectively ensure that we get rid of these criminals. We will continue to improve their barrack facilities.
Most of the troops sustained injuries as a result of encounter with improvised explosive device, IED. From Kaduna, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
And that's Panorama today. Many thanks for watching.